Welcome back to the Squawka YouTube channel. I'm Statman Dave and this is Squawka Tactics. Yes, the Premier League is finally back and this is our first video of the season. I am pumped! If you're into tactical previews, fan views and all-round general football videos, hit subscribe and like for more wonderful content on Squawka. Now, this is the biggest game of the opening Premier League weekend, third against sixth from last season. Solskjaer will want to set the tone right for the campaign in front of the Old Trafford crowd, while new Chelsea manager Frank Lampard will of course see this as a chance to kick off his reign in a brilliant way. Manchester United were the highest spending club in the Premier League this summer, breaking the world record transfer fee for a defender with the £80 million Harry Maguire addition. Not only that, they brought in Aaron Wan-Bissaka for £45 million. Add to that, lively winger Dan James. I can't wait to see the new look Manchester United in the Premier League. So it's time to dive into the tactics for the first time of the season. Of course, how will Manchester United set up against Chelsea? Solskjaer in pre-season has set United up in a 4-2-3-1. The interesting side there, in possession, Manchester United look to break up into two units, an attacking unit and a defensive unit. The attacking unit is a front five that consists of the front four players and then either the central midfielder dropping into that line just behind the striker, or potentially the wing back moving in if, for example, Paul Pogba is sitting a bit deeper or the defensive midfielder is sitting deeper. So the shape is really interesting. Of course, there are injury concerns from Paul Pogba, who had a slight back injury at the back end of pre-season, but his movement from midfield, getting into that number 10 area is going to be vitally important for unlocking the door against Chelsea. Last season in all competitions, Pogba made 47 appearances, scoring 16 goals, grabbing 11 assists and being directly involved in a goal every 154 minutes. The interesting side, though, for Manchester United is the sort of front four players. I think that's where Solskjaer could mix things up. I think that he will set United up as follows. Dan James on the right-hand side, playing as more a traditional winger. Same with Marcus Rashford, and then Pereira being the guy that can link with Anthony Martial. Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial have played really interesting roles in pre-season. When they've both been on the pitch, they've been switching positions. For example, Martial will play through the middle, or even Marcus Rashford will go up there. But it's going to be fascinating to see where Solskjaer goes. Dan James created 4 chances per 90 minutes in pre-season too, so expect him to start flying. But I'd argue that for United, the interesting side here is in terms of the young lad, Mason Greenwood, who scored against Inter Milan, but also scored against Leeds in pre-season. If he comes into the team, you could see Marcus Rashford move to number 9, you could see Dan James move to the left-hand side, arguably where he's better, and Mason Greenwood on that right-hand side. Greenwood was directly involved in 1.3 goals per game across all age groups for Manchester United last season. The guy is a phenom of a talent, is equally good on his right foot as his left foot. In this system, we could see him either pull inside or go out wide and open up that space for one of those inside forwards to get on the ball. One guy we've got to talk about because of his pre-season form is Scott McTominay. He's done a wonderful job, not only providing that number 8 role when Pogba's been out of the team, but there's a number 6, holding, defending the backs, sort of the centre halves and making moves over to protect both of the fullbacks. It's vitally important. Scott McTominay's stats per 90 during pre-season, he completed 93% of his passes, made 9 challenges and of course 3 tackles. The interesting side as well, if Paul Pogba, for example, isn't fit and has that back injury, we may see Nemanja Matic come in, United to slightly rotate, and Scott McTominay to play this number 8 role. We saw him do it really well against a number of teams in pre-season, getting into the penalty area and getting shots on goal, a strength of McTominay. Of course, we've also got to talk about new boy Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because he has had a very, 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 very good pre-season, as you'd expect from a player that tackles for fun. The man is a tackling monster. As we mentioned, the sort of how the shape will rotate with Paul Pogba, moving to a more advanced area. It's important that both fullbacks move inside and prevent, teams attacking through United's central area. Wan-Bissaka in pre-season won 93% of his tackles, averaged around 5 dribbles per game and 4 tackles. An incredible display. And Harry Maguire's there. Harry Maguire completed 17 take-ons last season, which was more than the following players: Ross Barkley, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and of course Aaron Ramsey. Impressive for a centre-back. Not only could Maguire be good on the cover, but can drive into midfield, aerially dominant, all types of good stuff. Manchester United are looking good going into the season in this 4-2-3-1 shape. Lampard has only had pre-season to work with his players. If he can continue his methods from Derby and his Chelsea pre-season, expect them to play a high-pressing 4-2-3-1. The Blues have a new face in Christian Pulisic and have also made the loan of Mateo Kovacic permanent just before the 2-window ban kicked in. Returning loan players like Mason Mount, Bakayoko, Batshuayi look to freshen up the squad despite the ban. Big names in Eden Hazard, David Luiz and Gary Cahill have all left. So let's take a look how Chelsea could line up against Manchester United. So during his time at Derby, Frank Lampard flirted with a 4-2-3-1, a 4-1-4-1, and of course a 4-4-2 diamond, but we expect him to play 4-2-3-1 against Manchester United. The interesting bit of positional play in terms of what Chelsea have been doing is the use of their number 10. We've seen Ross Barkley in there, but also Mason Mount. First up, Ross Barkley, what he adds to Chelsea is that kind of directness, that ability to carry the ball, pick up the ball in decent areas. Barkley was directly involved in 6 goals in just 194 minutes in pre-season, a rate of involvement in a goal every 32 minutes, and he's apparently back on penalties. Ross Barkley on the ball adds that drive, that driving force through the middle, where, you're looking at Mason Mount, a player that could also start for Chelsea, but I think he will go with Ross Barkley. He's more of a ball player, more of in the ilk of an Iniesta or of a Xavi, likes to get the ball, likes to pop it around, likes to work the opponents. I reckon at the end of the season, we'll probably see Mason Mount take that number 10 position, but for the start, I think Ross Barkley will be the guy. In terms of centre forwards, that's the other contentious position for Chelsea, you'd say. You've got Tammy Abraham, who can play that role, Olivier Giroud, after winning the Europa League last season, and Batshuayi coming back from Crystal Palace. Batshuayi, in fact, could be the guy that may take the reins here over the next sort of month or so. A technically good forward, good on the ball, obviously get involved in the build-up, but also provide the finishing touches. But expect Abraham to start. Abraham, a player that's come through the Chelsea Academy, scored 26 goals in the Championship last season for, of course, Aston Villa in their promotion run. He'll provide some good width. Christian Pulisic is the one that Chelsea fans are all excited about. Playing on the left-hand side, driving at the opposition. He is like a natural winger. Of course, Eden Hazard's goals and assists are going to be missed. Hazard was directly involved in a lot of Chelsea's goals, 16 goals and of course 15 assists in the league last season. Pulisic is a very different player, more a direct winger, more of a guy that's going to run at you and look to get the ball into the box and provide for the likes of Ross Barkley, for Pedro and Tammy Abrahams in that central area. In terms of Christian Pulisic as well, he has in fact been used as a number 9 as well. What we saw in pre-season was Ross Barkley moved out to the wing and Mason Mount brought on into that number 10 area, and Pulisic actually plays as a centre forward, which could get the best out of him. I think one of the big things with the USA international is he's very, very quick. He's got really good close control. What he needs to improve is his decision making, but playing as a number 9 could get into those good areas. We could see Lampard get his hipster boots on and play a false 9 in Christian Pulisic against Manchester United. The former Jorginho has been excellent in pre-season as well. We've seen his passing range going over the top to the centre forward, out to the wingers. We've seen him be a little bit more direct than he was under Maurizio Sarri. At centre half, of course, Chelsea lost a big guy. David Luiz off to Arsenal. A little bit disrespectful. Chelsea fans, get into the comments below. How much did that annoy you? But of course, with the Christensen, with Zuma, they've got 2 young centre-backs that could be very good for Chelsea in years to come. But expect Chelsea to set up with 4 at the back, 2 in midfield, and 3 attacking midfielders. Of course, off Tammy Abraham. We'll bring him right back in there, and we'll show you that starting 11. So Christian Pulisic will move out wide to the left. Ross Barkley will drop into number 10. Abraham as that number 9. So it's time to talk about key battles. First up, we're going to talk about United's attacking shape and how Chelsea could deal with it. As we mentioned before, United's attacking shape is quite central, but also offers width. A key sort of philosophy for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is playing these wingers wide, allowing Dan James and Marcus Rashford potentially to really stretch the width of the pitch, pinning their opponent's fullbacks back. But of course, what we mentioned, the big thing is that Paul Pogba will join Andreas Pereira, or the nominal number 10, in attacking midfield. For Chelsea, if we're looking at this shape, they've still got 6 guys back. In the defensive sense, of course, the 2 wingers will also drop. Don't expect Ross Barkley and Tammy Abraham to be that involved in the defensive sense. But for Chelsea, it's all about blocking those passes. If Scott McTominay can, find that pass in between the lines to release Paul Pogba. Then Pogba can look for Anthony Martial, or the other way around, Andreas Pereira, same thing. Or you're looking for that inverted ball to Marcus Rashford. That could be a real problem for Chelsea. They need to be aware of stopping that pass. That pass could come from Scott McTominay, but also potentially could come from one of the sort of defensive players. As we mentioned, United's shape does rotate. We could see maybe Harry Maguire driving through into that defensive midfield area on the ball and then releasing the same guys. That's something that Chelsea need to be very aware of, stopping Harry Maguire drive through, or even Luke Shaw on the other side. Luke Shaw has a tendency in this system to drive narrow and then look for the passes either to Pereira or Marcus Rashford. The key thing for Chelsea is stopping United playing in between their shape. The break, the counter-attack we could see as well. If United can get this set up, if they can rob the ball in midfield, Chelsea could have a real problem. We've seen frequently in pre-season United create this 5v4 on the counter-attack with that central sort of drive from one of the central midfielders joining the front five. Again, danger for Chelsea. So how can Chelsea deal with Manchester United? I think Christian Pulisic holds the key here. As we mentioned before, United's shape in build-up does evolve. It evolves a lot. The big thing for Chelsea is they can counter-attack this. It will be a really, really interesting battle. If United are building in this shape, 3 at the back, 2 in midfield, and they're looking for those passes and Chelsea can win the ball through Jorginho, the key thing is hitting that early switch and allowing Christian Pulisic to try and get a 1v1 with Harry Maguire. The kryptonite for this is that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is unbelievable on the cover. One of the reasons why United signed him was his ability to start in that central position and then get over and stop that cross into the box. But that is going to be a fascinating battle. Christian Pulisic up against Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And who can win that? Well, their team will come out on top. It's as simple as that. United's build-up, Chelsea in the transition. You can also expect Ross Barkley maybe to be aggressive on the dribble. But that's going to be interesting side. The other contentious part here is, are we going to see diamonds from both teams? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer beating Chelsea once in his career, got a draw, aggregate score 3-1. He's used diamonds in both of those games to unlock Chelsea's team. That, of course, was against Maurizio Sarri's Chelsea, a 4-3-3 that you could get out with a diamond. Don't expect Solskjaer to play a diamond. I don't think Lampard would play a diamond, but expect that to be a tactical option through the game. If either manager thinks that they can get behind their opponent's fullbacks, they will switch to that shape. It's going to be a fascinating opening weekend in the Premier League. So that's it for the first weekend tactical preview of the season. Let us know in the comments below if you want to see more videos like this, and if you're into tactical previews, fan views, and all great football content, hit subscribe and like for more wonderful content on Squawka.